My attachment was with his capital. I loved the mission and the purpose that was behind it all. That hit my heart at that time of my life. That's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to be involved. I wanted to help Ukraine. I wanted to help Uganda. I wanted to help us right here at home, military, all of that. And knowing that if I served his capital, that in some small way, my efforts are going to help those people.
Welcome to In the Boardroom with His Capital Group, a series of unfiltered conversations created to share our successes and failures, along with some of the tips, tricks, hacks, and strategies that we've used along the path to building wealth. So grab your favorite beverage, get to that quiet spot, and tune in to today's conversation. And remember that a legacy isn't only about leaving what you've earned, but also what you've learned.
Welcome back. Maybe you're watching this to learn about business or how to become a successful investor or just how to make it through day in and day out in the business world. We're glad that you're here. Friend Steve Landell here is going to talk a little bit about his journey of becoming a success in business and the skill sets necessary to make that happen.
And in every business that I've been in, totally different, but it's always been the same concept. There's an old saying out there: if you help enough other people get what they want in life, you will always have everything that you want in life. And if you go in with that concept, we talked about how to add value. I'll give you an example. There's a gentleman that business has opened up as a stage for me. I chose to come out of retirement because I lost that stage. And that stage puts me in front of people. And it puts me in front of relationships. And one of those relationships became one of my very close friends. And his name is Sean. And Sean literally saves children from human trafficking in Ukraine. We literally were over there with Sean a couple times. Had it not been for business, had we not stepped out and served and went out and met other people, what questions do you ask? A real simple question was, Sean, what do you do for a living? If you are in the right business, and if your business model does not elevate people and does not add value to them, I would be bold enough to say you've got the wrong business model. Business is a gift.
Yeah, it truly is. It truly is. And so many things have changed today, right? Everything is online, or we're looking at all that stuff. So I think that's probably where a disconnect comes in. There are so many ways to add value, and that's where people get messed up. I don't know how to do that. Well, sure you do. Those getting involved in real estate want to get involved and be a wholesaler, and you don't have two nickels to rub together. You don't know what to do. Well, you got to go find that person that is performing that task, right? You got to go find that wholesaler that's operating in your market and try to offer value. What do you need? What is your biggest need, right? And then how do my skills fit into that?
One of my first jobs out of high school, I made $4.50 an hour. And my $4.50 an hour was taken away. I got fired. I lost my job. Something goofy happened. And I remember thinking my whole world just collapsed. How am I going to buy the groceries? And it turned out to be one of the very best things that could have ever happened to me. And I'm so thankful for that opportunity. But what it did, it gave me a desire, a burning inside that I wouldn't have had without that. And I thought, no one's ever going to do that again to Steve Landell. And I'm going to go out and buy my own business. I bought a trucking business. I'm not a truck driver. So I don't know nothing about trucks. But you know what? I know how to treat people. And in that trucking business, it involved farmers. And then farmers were counting on me to take their livelihood, which would be their milk. The cows give milk in Wisconsin, okay? And the milk goes in the truck, and the truck goes to the cheese factory, and we all enjoy mozzarella, okay? Right. We talked about serving before. How can I go the extra mile, and how can I leave that place better than what they had before I pulled in the driveway? How can I give them a compliment? How can I elevate their life? And you know what? That business was successful. It was so successful It allowed us to be debt-free at age 30. It had nothing to do with that equipment. It had everything to do with the people. Not only did I need something to push me out of the nest, don't be afraid of things happening to you, okay? But it also taught me to not quit. And what I didn't tell you in this story was that for about 5 years, we were on the poverty level and wondering how we're gonna make the bills. And you know what? Not one time did we leave someone sick. We always kept our bills current. Didn't have much money, but by the end of the business, it was built up, it was profitable, and we could sell it for a profit. And that allowed us to journey on life debt-free. I am not aware of a business that comes easy. I'm not aware of a business person that's run a business that's come easy, but I am aware of a whole bunch of successful business people that don't quit. You keep going when the others quit. You keep going. And had I not kept going, I could not be sitting here telling you ideas of how to have a successful business.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely with you. You know, I look at it sometimes from an athlete standpoint of view, or one of my coaches, said, to me one time about how you perform when the game is tied and how you perform when you're getting your butt kicked. If that changes, then there's something wrong, right? You should be performing at that same level. Even if you're getting your butt kicked, you still have to be performing at that same level as if you were kicking somebody's butt. Because the minute you give up, the minute you surrender, you've just given up on yourself. And the one thing that you can never, ever do if you want to get further ahead is to never, if you made a promise to yourself, keep it. If you say you're gonna do something, do it. If you're gonna be somewhere, be there. And that's the foundation of it all, right? I mean, the skills will come. Sometimes it's trial and error, but you can't give up because there's a way, and there's always a way. You may not be the best speaker, so then you're gonna hire somebody that's gonna handle that for you, right? First of all, is understanding that you're not the smartest guy in the room, because the minute you think you are, you're done, you're toast, right? So it's surrounding yourself with people, and there's a lot of people that are self-employed, but I think one example is my nephew. I owned a cell phone store way back in the day, and he just looked at me, he goes, I want to be like you. You don't have any bosses. And I was like, okay, lesson number one, every person that walks in that door is not my boss. Because I'm relying upon them to walk in my door, so I can feed my family. So now I have to serve these people to make sure that they keep walking back in my door. And how do I best do that? It's kind of an interesting lesson. And I grew up, again, in a self-employed family, going to work every day. My role model was my dad. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if he had a migraine. It didn't matter if he could barely walk. It didn't matter any of that. There was a major snowstorm in Chicago. It was like 1967.
Snows there?
Yeah, imagine that, right? I mean, our store was probably about 5-6 miles away from where we lived. No buses running, you couldn't get your car out. I mean, we literally had 4, 5, 6 feet of snow. He walked, and I'm looking at him like, Dad, nobody's going to work. Where are you going? Well, son, the people in that neighborhood need food, and I need to feed you. I can't tell you, what that did in my head. That just stuck. Like, I'm 8 years old when he's telling me that, right? And that lesson till, today, 64, 64 now. So hearing that, that's a never give up attitude.
We had a meeting today, Sam, and I think your dad personified it. You can say I should do this, or you change it to I must do this.
Right.
And try that. If you say I must do something, if you want it that bad, that's a lot different than I should.
Absolutely.
And your dad had a must attitude.
Yeah, indeed.
And he put the other people first.
Yeah, thanks for saying that.
Some of us, and I'm going to say us because when I was younger, I was that person, okay? But some of us think, well, I don't have any money to invest. How can I even do that? I'm working 9 to 5. I'm just barely making ends meet. And then inflation's at what? Going up to 5% already or whatever it is. But things are getting more expensive. My advice, and I'm thinking of a particular girl. She's about 33 years old now, 34. And this girl had a job where she was making some pretty good money. She's in sales, and she quit that job to go for her passion. And she said, what I want to do is I want to go almost into the mission field across seas. And her mother said, why don't you stay right here in Orlando, Florida? Your heart is for the homeless population. And this girl would, when she'd go buy a Subway sandwich, she'd have two of them and she'd feed the homeless, and that was her passion. Her sales job didn't fulfill her. And so she quit her job and she started in a nonprofit organization for making maybe a third of what she was making. Well, that girl is one of our bigger investors today. And how could, that doesn't make sense. She's not making the fortune bucks, okay? But I will tell you, her background, and I know this girl very well, she stayed debt-free. Everything she could do to be debt-free. And she lived within her means. She lives within her means today. And that means maybe sharing expenses with someone else. That particular girl lived with her parents longer than the average person. I guess what I'm saying is, do what it takes to get there. Have the must attitude. And I'll give you just one idea of just a technique that this girl used. As simple as bought a car on payments, a Toyota Corolla, and she made payments. And at some point, those payments were fulfilled, and the car was now hers. Most of us would say, now I have extra money. So what she did was she kept making those payments, but those payments now went into a bank account of hers. And she kept that car longer than the average person would keep it. And all of a sudden, she's got $20-some thousand just by making the car payments to herself and making it a goal to be debt-free. She's got money to invest. And that little 20-some thousand has grown much more than that today.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So there's always a way.
Question I think that you threw out, right? It's like, hey, you're working all these side hustles. I'm doing everything I can. Well, I never believe everybody that says I'm doing everything, because obviously you're not, because you're still where you're at, right? I mean, that's just something that happens. So we hear enough of this think outside of the box stuff, but there's nothing new, right? I mean, I'm going to partner up, or maybe I'll buy a duplex, right, to where I can get a duplex to where the other half I'm renting out. It's going to help me make those payments while I'm building equity. There's so many different ways to do it. As long as we get rid of that, there's no way that I can do it attitude, right? Because it can be done. There are people that, and you mentioned that you're, from an immigrant family, right? Well, why the heck do people come to the United States? And I think sometimes there's that issue here where we see immigrants that are making more money than some of our people here in the States that get offended by, they're taking all our jobs or whatever the case may be. It's because of the hunger and the drive, or maybe knowing what it's like to not have and to go without, and then to come here to the greatest country that exposes you so much, and there's no way that you have that drive. There's no way you're going to fail. I mean, because you're doing the work that somebody else is not going to do, that already puts you leaps and bounds ahead of the pack. So it's being consistent and staying out of debt, right? It's not leveraging your future or borrowing from your future self, because that's exactly what everybody does with credit cards. Why we get into such debt and hock is because we're sacrificing tomorrow so we can enjoy some stuff today.
Absolutely.
And that's just going to kill you later on in life. It's like what we tell people about, if we're always trying to figure out the easy way to do things, then the rest of your life is going to be brutally hard. When I think about heaven and hell, my version of heaven, I used to joke, right? My version of hell used to be forced to watch women's basketball 24/7 for all eternity. And I say that in jest, right? Women are great basketball players, fundamentally sound, and that's who you want to learn from. But that really changed for me over time. Heaven to me is meeting the best version of myself, having him there to greet me. Say, dude, you made it, high five. And you go off and you're talking, he wants me to meet the maker and say, here's the dude, you did it, right? My version of hell then at that point is getting there, meeting that best version of myself, and him saying, I don't know you. And you had a shot, you blew it. I don't ever want to hear that, right? So, there's so many different ways that we can go with wanting to move forward and being a success, but it all starts, in your heart and genuinely what you want to do, because there's a way, right? There's tons of people that don't know what the hell they're doing that have made a way because they tried and they didn't give up.
One single worst piece of advice that I ever got for an investor and for a businessman is the wrong way to handle adversity. And I'll give you an example. Has someone ever hurt you and maybe they're rude to you, they did something, and I was brought up and taught, well, you give them a piece of your mind, you rattle their cage, and the more mad you get, it's almost like you were like, oh, you let him have it, Sam,
Yeah.
And that is absolutely the wrong way. 100% wrong. And I reversed that years and years ago, and the getting mad is number one wrong. If I got a temper problem, and I got to blow up on you, well, you know what? If I've got that character in me to do that to Anna, and I didn't do it to you now, well, right now you're thinking that he's got it in him to do it to her.
Yeah.
He can do it to me. And here's the key. We are in the people business and we are in the trust business. And people deal with people they like and people they trust. If I showed you a sponge right here with something in it, you wouldn't know what's in it until it's squeezed. And once it's squeezed, you're gonna see what comes out. And the same thing is in business. When the tough times hit, you're gonna see your business partner, you're gonna see these other people that you're around, and you're gonna see their real character squeezed out. What is your character to look like? And how are you gonna handle it?
Business advice, it depends often, like who you're taking it from, right? I mean, we do so many things randomly. I heard this on the internet, or I heard so-and-so talk about this, and I'm gonna give that a try. It's that whole episode of not exploring further and just taking somebody's word for it that you don't even know, or this marketer that you don't even know, or taking any of that information without verifying. Right? We have a thing in real estate here, especially when we're analyzing deals and such, right? It's trust and verify. No matter what partner we're working with, you still have to have those checks and balances in it. That probably, hey, he's a good guy. You should be working with him. And just saying, yeah, okay, but not having boundaries, not having protocols set up and just getting into bed together. That happens a lot in real estate, especially for anybody getting involved at that entry level point. You want to take from about everybody, and you can't. Right? You do have to find that viable source. You do have to still do some diligence about figuring out, all right, this guy's been around a little bit. I'm going to talk to some people that have worked with him. I'm going to vet. No matter how. Again, I let two nickels rub together. I'm going to kind of figure this out. I'm going to talk to some people that have done it, and then I'll make that decision.
My 18-year-old self, this is what I wish I would have known in one sentence. Our greatest gift from God are people. Treasure every single relationship.
I would really have to say that I think the biggest thing that if I go back and look at it is just you don't have time. Don't let anybody tell you that you have time. Because number one, it's not promised. You never know what kind of health or issues that are going to come about. So do it now. Thanks for watching, everybody. You've reached the end of our episode number 2, actually, of In the Boardroom with His Capital.
If you want more additional content pertaining to real estate investments or motivation and success in life in general, check out some of the other videos that we have. I'm sure they'll be a blessing to you as well.